Hello students, welcome back. So now we're going to continue on and we're going to talk about the competitive firm. I'm going to take this particular episode or video for our class, and I want to concentrate on the homework on Ignition and show you guys that sometimes there's a way to figure things out where otherwise it might be a little bit complicated. So the first thing I want to bring your attention to is if you look at this slide, this is what we're interested in terms of the homework, right? So here we have a competitive firm. Notice there's the upward sloping marginal cost curve, and we've got our average total cost curve and our average variable cost curve, and they're both going to be cut at their minimum points by the marginal cost curve. And here we have an example price. So this is the main slide for most of the homework in this chapter. So now I'm going to go ahead and remove this slide. Now you can see a frame from Ignition. So this is a good example of what we want to think about. So if we look at the different categories on top that label points on our graph, we have where the average total cost curve is equal to the marginal cost curve. So that's going to be the minimum of the average total cost curve. That's going to be highlighted in blue. And in purple is going to be where the average variable cost curve intersects the marginal cost curve. And then we have the short run average total cost curve, the short run average variable cost curve, and the marginal cost curve. And these are all labeled as short run. That's okay. It's just saying that in this example, it's the short run because we're going to have fixed costs, which remember are going to be the difference between the total cost and the variable cost. But I want you to take a close look at this graph and notice that the range for the graph is from 0 to 20 in terms of the points that are plotted. But here we have this blue point out here, which is happening at 21.83 units, but it's out of range, so we can't really see everything that we want to see. So if you end up with a situation like this, the best thing to do, and I'm not saying you can't answer the questions this way, but remember on the homework, nothing's recorded until you actually input an answer. So you can just refresh the page, and now we've got a version of the graph that looks a lot more like what we saw in the PowerPoint slide. So this is a much better example. And then we can go ahead and read the question. And if you guys want, you can remove part of the graph. Remember, if you just click on it, then it'll take out those lines that maybe you don't want to see. And here now we're just left with the 2 points that are where the average total cost and the average variable cost meet the marginal cost curve. Maybe that's helpful, maybe it's not. I'm going to go ahead and restore everything, and then let's go ahead and read the question. So this question's asking us about the zero profit condition. And you may remember from lecture or from reading your book that firms earn zero profit when price is equal to average total cost. So that's going to happen because remember also our other condition for the competitive industry is that price is equal to marginal cost. So we're talking about this point here, and sometimes it's a little bit hard to see, and that's why it's labeled. But you can see that marginal cost, and it's not labeled here, but it's going to be equal to price and going to be equal to average total cost at the minimum of the average total cost curve. And then you're going to have 10.85 units produced by an individual firm. And then you would just multiply that by 10 for 10 such firms. So here I've gone ahead and put the answer in. Remember, it's 10.85 times 10, so that's going to be 108.5. And if we wanted to be more precise, it'd be 108.53. I went ahead and put in the answer, and I actually goofed it. I should have put 108.5. But if we go ahead and take the feedback answer and put it in the calculator, then sure enough, we have the 108.5 that we need for that particular problem. Okay, so now we move on to question number 2. And this one's a little bit tricky because it's asking about long-run equilibrium, and it gives these curves here, which gives you the impression that everything is still short-run. But you have to remember that everything becomes variable in the long run. So really what they want us to focus on is, for one, from a competitive industry, this would be the long-run average total cost curve. All costs become variable. So the variable cost curve isn't relevant anymore. And the long run, remember, is at the minimum of the long run average total costs. So we would look at that point there where the marginal cost curve intersects with the, what in this case would be the long run average total cost curve. And we can go ahead and put our answer in. So the equilibrium price in the long run would be 130.94. And if we submit, and then we go ahead and put our answer in, then sure enough, we have the right answer. So, so this question is again asking about normal economic profit. So that's a concept that we defined. And then these other questions, you can go ahead and sort through the answers. There aren't graphs associated with them. I'm going to go ahead and go back. This was homework 17 on competitive industry, and I'm going to look at homework 16, which is on just the competitive firm. And so now they're asking about shutdown. And so remember, the shutdown rule is that the firm produces 0 once price drops below the minimum of the average variable cost. And in this case, it would be at $67. And we can't easily verify that, but if we do a little bit of math here, 3 times 3 is 9, times 2 is 18, 85 minus 18 is 67. So that would be correct in this case. Okay. And this question again is just another way of talking about the definition of what it means for a firm to shut down. Remember, that's temporarily stopping production. And so this is again about the shutdown rule. We didn't really talk, if you looked in your book and you thought about it carefully, the idea of breaking even is similar to when the firm earns 0 profits. Break even is a little bit more of a short run concept, but it's still about earning 0 profits. So here this would be where price is equal to the minimum of the average total cost. So it should be 112.18. And the expression is kind of long, but let's put it in our calculator. And yeah, so that's right. If we put in 112.17, if we didn't round it, we would still end up getting the answer correct when it was scored off of the submission. This is another question about 0 profit, which is another way of talking about break even. And question 5, at what price would the firm produce 20 units? Well, okay, remember now we have to remember that price would be equal to marginal cost. So if we look at the marginal cost of 20 units, in this case it's 226, then that should be our correct answer. Okay. And how much profit or loss does the firm earn? Well, now we're talking, remember, we have this little profit rectangle, and it's price minus average total cost times the number of units would give us this a long rectangle in here. And there's not a way for me to draw it out for you on the demonstration, but I'll just make sure we're talking about the height of the rectangle as being the difference between these 2 points, because price is equal to marginal cost, and price minus average total cost times the quantity is going to give us profits. If there's a profit, it could be a loss too. And so remember, revenue is price times quantity. So if you're producing 11 units and price is equal to marginal cost, then we can do price times quantity there to get the revenue of the firm, or the total revenue. So I think based on everything that I've discussed, you guys should begin and be able to calculate everything that remains for this homework assignment. So good luck, and I'll talk to you guys soon.